Hello everyone. Uh, Nice to see you all virtually, and extremely glad to join the symposium from here in Atlanta, Georgia. Um, my name is Tejas Puranik. I'm a research engineer at the Georgia Institute of Technology, and I lead various projects here related to improving air transportation safety and sustainability. And today I'm going to be talking about our work related to analysis of departure procedures for aviation noise mitigation. My co-authors in this work are graduate student Jirat Manpato and lab director Dimitri Mavris. So let me get right into it. Um, so a little bit of motivation and background before I dive into the work that we conducted. I guess everyone in in this symposium is probably well versed with the fact that environmental effects are among the key challenges for sustainable growth of aviation. We know that despite COVID-19, global air traffic is expected to increase in the long term, and this could mean more frequent operations, larger capacity aircraft, as well as additional routes being added into the airspace. So with this increased traffic, there is a concern about the associated environmental effects. One of those in particular is community noise exposure, which is what we are focusing on. In order to try and mitigate community noise exposure, there are several strategies that exist, such as implementing new technologies on aircraft, um, uh, tightening the regulations around operations, and then operational changes themselves, which can lead to reduction or redistribution of community noise. So among the third option enlisted here is something called a noise abatement departure procedures, which are a measure that are undertaken by operators. NADPs, as they are called, are uh, recommended by ICAO, and I'll go into a little bit of detail about those in a couple of upcoming slides. The important thing to note, though, is despite there being recommendations on how to implement noise abatement departure procedures, there still exists a large amount of flexibility that can be retained by airlines and operators in defining their own noise abatement procedures. So there is a need to try and quantify the similarity of real world operations compared to these noise abatement procedures when we are trying to estimate the impact of aviation operations in and around airports in a rapid manner. So the noise abatement procedures, the background behind them is that the aircraft's trajectory and noise impact are very closely intertwined. The performance of the aircraft can have a significant effect on the noise. And so the noise exposure can either be reduced or redistributed away from the community surrounding the airports by varying the thrust levels or the performance of the aircraft. Now, there's two typical types of noise abatement procedures that have been defined by the ICAO. They're called NADP 1 and 2. One refers to those with sort of the close-in benefits, so noise reduction close to the airport, and then two are supposed to be ones with distant benefits. And the flowchart on the right here sort of walks through the different steps that can be defined in this type of procedure in order to fly that procedure and gain the benefits that have been suggested from these procedures. So, like I said earlier, there are various NADP profile definitions that exist with number of combinations of thrust cutback, initial acceleration, and final acceleration altitudes that can lead to a combinatorial sort of space of the NADPs themselves. And so in some previous work, we had looked at sort of down selecting or trimming down these different types of combinations to perhaps the two most representative ones based on airline operations. And so we'll, in this work, we'll focus on one variant each of NADP1 and NADP2 in order to make the analysis tractable. In terms of then actually modeling the noise itself in for community noise exposure and other types of environmental effects. In this work, we are using the FAA's Aviation Environmental Design Tool, which is a leading tool that can be used for different types of environmental metric and environmental impact assessments. So it contains a number of databases from which the data gets queried and input into a performance model that leads to the generation of a trajectory and specific performance characteristics. These then get fed into AEDT's noise model in order to compute those noise metrics related to sound exposure level or other types of metrics. So this is a notional flowchart showing that process, which we'll be using in this work. So there's two main ways in which the AEDT model can model aircraft operations at a large scale. The first one is a simpler one, which is called a procedural profile, where you have a single profile that can be used to represent average operation, but it is assumed to be the same across different airlines and airports. So it consists of a sequence of steps, similar, not too different from what I had shown for the NADPs. And there are different things that you need to define within those steps in order for it to be a valid procedural profile. And on the other end of the spectrum are fixed point profiles, which are, you can think of those as unique trajectories for each aircraft. So it's defined as a sequence of points, which is the trajectory as it is sampled, and it can be it sort of quickly becomes intractable because there could be a large number of flights. So going from left to right, as I said, there's increasing complexity, but then more accuracy because you are modeling each flight as it happened. And then from right to left, there is an increasing ease of implementation. However, the individual variability can be lost. So in both cases, an approximation of the aircraft takeoff weight is assumed using the stage length. So the stage length is a proxy for, or an integer number denoting the overall trip length in terms of great circle distance. And so we are not planning to change this in this current work. We'll continue using the way it is defined in AEDT right now. So the question then becomes, we want to try and accurately and efficiently capture noise impact at an airport, and we want to look at what kind of real world trajectory variability can be captured by these noise abatement profile. And so we're trying to answer things like, can those real world operations be accurately defined or represented by those noise abatement profiles? How representative are those profiles for a fixed set of operations? And then finally, is the variability in those operations accurately captured or retained in terms of its noise impact when we are trying to model that? And so the overall objective is to demonstrate the use of large-scale tracking data, such as that obtained from OpenSky Network, and quantify the difference in community noise impact between real-world operations and noise abatement procedures. So we've defined a 4-step process to go through that, and I'll quickly talk about that and then dive into the results. So the first step is processing the trajectory data. So the NADP, the two NADP profiles, like I said, are sort of shown here in the table. And the first 3 columns sort of help us define how these profiles are implemented. The last 2 columns are, again, different variants in which these 2 profiles themselves can also be modeled. And this is because one noise abatement profile can have different stage lengths and different levels of reduced thrust during takeoff and climb. And so these are sort of the two other knobs that we have to control when we are trying to model these. So um, like I mentioned, these two were selected based on a prior study. They are just a means of having a representative set of two profiles. They can quite as easily be replaced by other profiles if we were to replicate this work again. So these are then modeled in AADT as procedural profiles because we have these fixed set of definitions. In terms of data from OpenSky, we decided to focus on a single airport within the US, San Francisco International Airport, and we're looking at departures from the Boeing 737-800 aircraft. We have around 5,000 or so flights collected during a 1-year period. Now, because we are trying to look at typical types of operations, there are certain types of anomalous trajectories that we removed, and this was just mainly to make the process as representative of routine operations as we could. We used a similar definition that AADT uses for calculating the stage length for the OpenSky trajectories, and the main reason for this being, since AADT uses the stage length as a proxy for takeoff weight in the noise computations, we wanted the OpenSky and NADP trajectories to be consistent so that we can do a fair comparison. And then we did a little bit of resampling at every 0.1 nautical miles ground track distance interval so that there can be a fair comparison, and also removed shifts that can happen by starting the comparison at 35 feet above field elevation. And this is because we found that ADS-B data very near the ground can have some challenges in terms of its reliability. For computing the trajectory comparisons, we went through a process of, since we've realigned the trajectories at a specific interval, we could then sort of easily go in and do those comparisons. In this work, we focused mainly on the comparisons between the altitude and the speed, because these are two easily available parameters that define the trajectory that we can compare from OpenSky as well as the NADP profiles. Something to note is that each OpenSky trajectory here is compared against the NADP profile or the noise abatement profile of the same stage length at various reduced thrust levels. So we want to remove the variability that could be introduced because of differences in stage length or takeoff gross weight, but we wanted to try and capture the variability of different reduced thrust levels, and this is because different airlines might have different ways in which they operate the reduced thrust. The next step is identifying median representative profiles. So the second step, which is computing the trajectory comparisons, can be done basically for each OpenSky trajectory that we have with the noise abatement procedures. And this is a fairly easy comparison, like I showed on the previous slide. One-to-one comparison, we compare it for all the flights, and then we can look at some aggregate results. However, when we're trying to model these in AADT to capture the noise impact, it starts to become very tedious to actually go in and model like thousands and thousands of flights and get their noise impact. And so what we did through some prior work cited at the bottom here is we used the airline stage length combination from the OpenSky trajectories and used agglomerative hierarchical clustering to cluster these OpenSky trajectories into different clusters. And then what we can do is, just for the sake of noise impact assessment, we can identify median representative profiles in each cluster, and then actually model those median flights in AADT to get the community noise impact, and then compare them against the noise abatement procedures. Finally, the noise abatement procedures, the median representative profiles are modeled as fixed point profiles. So the higher end of the spectrum that I had shown earlier, we need to estimate thrust in order to model these in AADT. We use aircraft noise and performance ANP coefficients to do that. I know there's various other ways that we could do this as well, such as OpenAP and other libraries. In this case, we chose to stick to ANP coefficients because that's something that's readily available in AADT, and we could sort of integrated into our workflow. So in the end, we modeled close to 600 fixed point profiles, the 74 medians of the different clusters with 2 cutback altitudes and 4 reduced thrust levels. And then all those profiles were flown over a noise receptor grid in AADT to generate the noise results. Now I'm going to quickly go through a couple of slides that show some of the major results that we obtained. So the first set of results is the trajectory differences. So how different are real world trajectories compared to these noise abatement procedures? And so what we've done is we are looking at altitude and ground speed on the 2 charts on the right here. We're computing the difference. The red represents the noise abatement procedure 1 and the blue represents procedure 2. The bar charts indicate the variability in the difference between these noise abatement profiles as well as all the open sky trajectories that we looked at. And then the percentage reduced thrust represents what kind of thrust level is used for takeoff and climb. So 0 would be full thrust takeoffs, 15 would be 15% reduction. So you can see, the comparison sort of moves or shifts around as you vary those levels. Overall, we see that somewhere between 5 and 10% reduced thrust seems to be doing well in altitude. And then in terms of ground speed, there is not as much difference in the reduced thrust options. So when we look into like each of those individually, we find that the NADP2 with 10% reduced thrust seems to be the most representative for an aggregate level. So like all airlines, all operations happening at SFO during that time frame, this was the more representative of what airlines were doing at that airport. And so this is just something we found from the comparisons. We also wanted to sort of go in and try and see if we can break it down by airline and stage length. And for the sake of representation, we've just picked the top 5 airlines that were operating there, and the 4 stage lengths based on the trip length that I talked about earlier. And then the heat map here shows sort of the percentage difference, again, mean percentage error between the average operations of that airline at that stage length compared with the NADPs. And so as you can see, while the overall differences for the reduced thrust 10% were close to 0, between airlines and between different stage lengths, there can be quite a lot of variability in how close they are to that specific noise abatement departure procedure. Something to note is that the white circles here are the ones for which we did not have sufficient data. We do a similar comparison then for ground speed, and then sort of do a combined comparison overall. But it's quite evident that the altitude is the main dimension in which there is a lot of variation, with some amount of variation seen in the ground speed. So we found that in this particular case for this set, airline 4, stage length 4 seems to be the most similar, and stage length 2 seems to be the least similar. So what we wanted to do was we modeled all of these combinations for noise, but for the sake of brevity, we wanted to show the one that was most similar and see how it looks like when we model the community noise impact. And so this slide here shows the variations in noise impact that are or are not captured by the noise abatement procedures. And so the plots on the right show the 4 clusters for that airline stage length combination that was most similar. And the color indicates how much of a difference in the SEL noise metric is observed in terms of decibels for those 4 cluster medians. One thing to note is the larger differences observed near the end for some of those are because the trajectories get cut off at a certain height because of the way we are setting up the problem, and this can result in a little bit of extra errors. But even then, most of or all of the differences in SEL are within plus minus 5 decibels. So then the last step, the last set of results was we wanted to look at, the variations in noise impact not captured by AEDT. And for this, we sort of dove into the noise difference between the NADP2 profile and all airline and stage length groups. So, just see if there's any trends based on the stage lengths themselves. And overall, we can see that most noise differences are between plus or minus 2, with the maximum and minimum sort of going up to 8, plus 8 or minus 10 SEL in dBs. So to summarize and conclude my talk today, what we wanted to do in this work was to develop a method to quantify the differences in trajectory and the resulting noise impact between real world and noise abatement procedures. So we designed the methodology to be flexible and accommodate large data sets. OpenSky data at San Francisco Airport was a big part of us being able to do this. And for example, in this way, users can go in and substitute AEDT assumptions with higher fidelity models if required. We stuck to one airport right now just to demonstrate the real world variability that could be retained by NADP. And the ability to identify the appropriate NADP profile to model for a given operational context sort of leads to a foundation for future impact assessment studies. And so this is where we are trying to simplify the problem of should I model those thousands of trajectories to get that noise impact, or can I rely on an overall average that we've obtained through this pipeline? So with that, I just wanted to acknowledge the FAA through the Ascent partnership, which has funded some of this work. And I want to acknowledge a number of people mentioned there for their support. Just reiterate that these findings or recommendations are the views of the authors only and do not reflect any FAA or official policy. So with that, I will end my talk and open it up for questions.